So go ahead, guys.
All right.
Welcome to Thursday night stretch and sip. We have Dr. Charbel here with us from Integrated Health Solutions. So super smart guy. They do a lot of really good stuff over there. So we are going to be working on some stuff to help us not do what we do all day, which is sitting. Janice is doing it right now. So is Tracy. It's okay.
Well, hi, everybody. Good to see your faces here and those on Facebook that I'm not able to see the faces. My name is Charbel. I have been enjoying what I do for close to 10 years in Indianapolis, about a couple of years in St. Louis. I love what I do. We have mostly an integrative clinic. We do a variety of medical acupuncture, soft tissue rehab, chiropractic, and so forth. We also have a passive side where we do cryotherapy, we do flotation, infrared sauna, IV therapy. So it's a nice integrated clinic. My goal today, I want to have fun with you today and also share with you some gems on what to do regardless to the current situation we're in with the heavier sitting than not. My goal today is also to share with you things that you do naturally, sitting in the car, sitting to eat, sitting to watch TV, sitting at the office, and so forth. So at any time, feel free to ask questions. Here in a minute, I'm going to turn the screen around, and Betsy, my beautiful girlfriend, will be videotaping me here or sharing the screen. And so I won't be seeing your faces, but you can see me, and we'll go from there. So we're turning around here. So welcome to the office space here. We opened the one downtown not too long ago. So my goal today with you is to discuss the lower crust part. With all the sitting we do, we shorten our hip flexors, we inhibit the butt, we also inhibit the core, the diaphragm becomes inhibited. We also tighten up our back. So a lot of us sit in that fashion. So the other part of the conversation today, I would like to discuss also the thoracic, where we sit too much into that flexion. A lot of us like to be active. We want to do overhead stuff, whether it's pull-up or presses, but with our back being rounded and shoulders being rounded, this creates shoulder impingement and tightness in the neck and so forth. So we'll start today first by discussing the lower part, primarily how to open up the hip flexors. And then we will finish up with how to address the pecs and the back. So we'll put this away. Ideally, before any stretch, I recommend doing some form of a soft tissue release. Now, there are multiple ways to do that. The simplest way, maybe if you have as simple as a rolling pin in your kitchen. We were talking about cooking here earlier. So a rolling pin will do. You can massage the outside of your quads, the middle, the inside. Or if you want to be a little bit fancier, you can maybe invest in a massage stick and you can massage the outside, the middle, the inside. The most common thing we do use are the foam rollers. You can get yourself one on Amazon if it's delivered on time now. It's probably about $18. I recommend the black foam rollers. They're solid, they're dense, they will last you much longer. The colored ones, like the white ones or purple, are a little bit softer and they're cheaper, but they will
squishy.
They become squishy very fast. So I always recommend that to start foam rolling first, loosen up the tissue before we stretch it. Always try to address the out, middle, and in. Simple stuff here. I'll face you kind of this way, you guys can see me. I always like to start in the middle of any muscle that I'm soft tissuing. So as you can see, I'm almost in the middle of my quad. I'm supporting myself with my elbow, my arm, my leg this way, and this leg is floating. Eventually, you want to get to do this, but it might be a little bit painful at the beginning. Go up to your knee and down to the hip bone, and try not to come up with your trochanteric bone, which is this bone down here. It's not harmful, but if you do it repetitively, it might become irritated. So you do that about a couple of times. I tell my clients also to smile when you do that. I see a lot of people grimacing and making faces. Anytime I do soft tissue, I encourage you and our clients to smile, because what goes together wires together. The brain will put two things together. We'll see you smiling and will associate foam rolling or stretching with something positive. So continue smiling when you do things, even when you land on a trigger point. and you really want to punch something, don't do that. So now we went from here to here. So I'm leaning a little bit more about midsection with my quad. Now I'm going to go all the way down. Now when you come to this point, you can put both elbows down, or you can keep both legs, depending how tight and painful it is for you. Hopefully it's not too painful. That means you're doing it more often. You can this time go all the way up to the hip flexors and down to the quads. And you do that a few times. If you want more pressure, just put this leg on top. And then don't forget to address the inside. It's like a military crawl. Again, start in the middle of the quad, go up to the knee and down to the hips there. You do that for about 2-3 minutes. There's no right or wrong. And once you finish with that, obviously I would have done my thoracic, but since we're focusing first on the lower side, I will finish with that. So whether you finish now rolling with a massage stick or a rolling pin or a foam roller, we need now to stretch the hip flexors, the quads. A very common, now by the way, I'm putting this underneath me because this carpet here is not cushioned, so it will hurt my knee. Otherwise, if you're at home, you don't have to do that. Or if you want more cushion, fold a towel, nothing fancy, and put it down there. We do this often at our NapTown facility. As some people know it as the hip flexor stretch, or some people know it as the couch stretch, because you put your leg on a couch. So you can do it at this fashion. This is the intermediate level. You can put your foot up on something and make it much more aggressive here. What I want to bring to your attention today is our functionality and how we should stretch according to that. And what I mean by that is, when we move as a human, we don't move in the sagittal plane all the time. We are actually triplanar. Any movement we do is done in the sagittal, frontal, and rotational planes. So which means I would encourage you moving forward, whenever time you stretch moving forward, try to stretch in a 3-dimensional fashion. And today I'm going to share that with you. So to set up properly for a good couch stretch or hip flexor stretch here, I want you to imagine that your hips are like a bucket, a water bucket. And then you want this water to either stay in the bucket or spill from the back. Because I see a lot of people, when they stretch like that, they are into this extension fashion. And that does not get enough stretch here. Or if anything, it's squeezing your back more than it needs to. So tilt your hips a little bit backward. Imagine that you're bringing your butt down to your heel, or again, that bucket is spilling from the back. That automatically creates additional stretch in the front end of your hips. So now we have established a better positioning to start that stretch in a better way. Next thing from here, so this is now we're addressing this plane more so than any other planes. From here, what I encourage you to do, now if you don't have enough balance, you can put a chair next to you or a wall, and you can do it by being supported in that fashion. Otherwise, you can use an arm as a driver and reach away from the hip. So now we have incorporated in a new plane, this frontal plane here, that will allow me now to get additional stretch on the side here. Any stretch, I recommend you hold for about 30 seconds to a minute, whatever is comfortable for you. You can pulse gently in and out of it. You can definitely use both hands. Now we need to add the third plane. We can rotate a little bit. Now, as I rotate, I start feeling something a little bit more medial, lateral. I'm trying to drive the capsule into additional planes of stretches instead of just being here. Now, of course, as you can imagine, you can add 2 planes. So I can now rotate and lean at the same time. Now I'm adding additional areas of stretch here. To make it more functional, something we don't do often, you can put, again, back your arms into it. So you can lean like that a few times. You can have one arm turn this way and one arm go backward. Now I'm adding a little bit of extension with that hip. And now I'm really enjoying some nice stretch. Now, with the stretch, I don't recommend that you force it, because then the tissue will contract, will protect itself. You need to just be gentle with the stretch and allow it to gently go into those areas. So we've discovered how we can add additional 2 planes to our stretches, and how we can be creative and utilize your arm as drivers. You can use them both on the same side. You can use them both to the side. And again, if your balance is not permissive, you can hold on something. So that would cover
about putting my hands over my head doing that, and that made that like worse. So I feel bad for the 3 people that come to a lot of my classes that are on the bottom row right now, because guess what you guys are gonna do?
Now, of course, Sam, what's important is every person do it to their comfort. So sometimes we might use a foam roller maybe to balance me and support me if it's way too tight. If my balance is not enough, I might have to use this to stabilize me if I reach this way, if I want to reach this way. So again, it's dictated by the ability of the person. And their level of tension, but again, somebody can be creative, whether using a chair or this or nothing, or using, as you said, the arms and or opposite directions. They're beautiful stuff to really open that capsule 3-dimensionally in every aspect. I recommend, as always, stretching gently before a workout, foam rolling, and definitely stretching even more after the workout. So that's basically what I wanted to share with you in terms of the lower quadrant stretches for this first part of this segment. Any questions on the hip flexor stretch and why is it important, and any other questions on that before we move on to the upper part?
No, I could definitely feel, I only did the left side, so I can definitely feel the difference right now between the left and right side of my body though.
Yeah, you could definitely, once you're done, you can definitely feel a little bit of openness. This hip is ready to move, ready to go. I encourage all of our population to do this 2-3 times a day, not just once, because we sit a lot and it's good for us to open up our hip flexors. So if there's no questions on that, I will move on to discuss now the upper part, something super important. In our gym, we do a lot of presses overhead, snatches, even pull-ups. We don't think of pull-ups also something that's affecting our shoulder and our neck. And we see a lot of patients with shoulder impingement or neck pain, and that's where the compensation happens due to our rounded shoulders. So as we discussed before, I always like to start by loosening up the tissue before I stretch things. For the thoracic area, I would recommend you getting, of course, as well a foam roller and position it halfway through. I like to support my head because I like to focus on my thoracic and simply go up and down a few times, just in a semi-rounded fashion here, as you can see. I sometimes like to emphasize a little bit on the right or a little bit on the left, just to kind of take out some of that tension, tissue tension. You might hear a little crackling, and that's normal. So after I finish this, one of the ways I start to engage by elongating and stretching my thoracic is leaning back here. Now, one thing I want to bring to your attention is I see a lot of people, when they do that, they actually do it from here. So they arch up the back. Try to keep this section equal and just lean where the foam roller is. Again, I like to support my head so I'm not straining, but some people enjoy it this way, whatever is comfortable for you. Once you do this, then just about 1 inch go further. So we've actually kind of taken every vertebra and we are stretching it one at a time. You can pulse it a little bit and gentle and slow and continue with that all the way up, and kind of like reversing or trying to reverse the hours of sitting in a forward posture. Once I finish with this, I personally like to do the lacrosse ball on my pecs. And then again, this is to open up your chest here to allow that thoracic to open up even more. So a lacrosse ball, tennis ball, trigger point ball, any kind of ball. These are about $3 or $2 online maybe. Put that between you and a wall or a door, and medium pressure. What you're trying to accomplish is visualize it's like a massage therapist using their fingers to loosen up your pec minor, major, all of those tissue here. The idea is to put medium pressure, and you can do it into circles or going left or right or up or down. There's no right or wrong, as long as you don't pressurize too hard and bruise yourself. And again, now the muscle is protecting itself. We don't want that. We want medium pressure to deep pressure, but not too hard. The idea is to do this 2-3 times a day, even 4 or 5 times a day, but just a minute or two. That's fantastic to loosen up the tissue. Again, I'll do that obviously on both sides to loosen up the pecs. This will allow us to stretch the thoracic, this section of your back, a little bit better. So we'll put this away. From here today, I want to share with you two stretches. One, I'll do it here and I'll demonstrate on the other side. You can find at home a couch, a chair, anything of that nature. And then the idea is to put your elbows this way and arms here. And then you're going to keep your head neutral and then lean back. The idea is to try to focus this section here to drive it down toward the ground, slow and gentle. And you're going to feel a little stretch. Sometimes you feel it into your lats, into your triceps. But keep your neck neutral and think that the head is being elongated, like there's something here pulling you up and tall. So as you think tall, visualize between the shoulder blades sinking down. Now, if this is giving you shoulder pain, and potentially you have a shoulder impingement, then obviously you cannot do it that way. You might have to modify, maybe with arm a little bit longer. But short of it causing you any discomfort in your shoulder, that's a fantastic way. Again, hold for about 30 seconds. Use your breath to breathe in and breathe out and then sink slowly into it. You can also pulse it a little bit. So you can just get a little pulsing like that. Or you can hold head elongated and tall and sink down slowly to create that thoracic extension, which is super important. Now, I recommend also doing that before a lift overhead or to kind of get your spine ready for a workout. Now, I'm going to share with you one more today for this thoracic, because remember, we want to also stretch it into rotational. At the gym, we do a lot of this quadruped here, and then you can do it this fashion. I will maybe give you two points on this before I give you my last tip here. If you'd like to do this one here, what I recommend is visualize you're driving with your left hand down to the ground and lifting up. Let your eyes also turn your body, so look up toward the ceiling. If you sit back, the more you sit back, the more you lock your spine, the more you get that rotation from your thoracic, from your mid-back up to your neck. So you can sit back a little bit more, look up, breathe out, and come back down. Breathe in and on the way up. And that also allows some stretch in your pec lats, but definitely some good rotation in that thoracic spine. Remember, we want to get our body to stretch three-dimensionally. So that's a fantastic one. We did the sagittal, we do now rotational. And this one also take into consideration extension and rotation. Fantastic one here. Lastly, this one, I don't see us doing much at the gym, but I love doing this with my clients and patients here. You can utilize a foam roller, a pillow, or a towel, anything that you like in that fashion. Come on down to the ground. You want to be at 90 degrees. So your spine is neutral here. Your hip is at 90 degrees. And this will be pressed down. Again, you don't need a foam roller. You can use a ball, a basketball, or a big pillow, anything of that nature. The reason we put this here, that pressure of knee on this, with the hip being at 90 degrees, will lock your lumbar spine. So this way, when you're moving, you're mostly moving now from this midsection of your back up to your neck. From here, you can rest. If this is too low for you, you can simply put like a pillow under your head or foam or anything of that nature to support you neutral here. Because it's good for your spine to be neutral so you can breathe easier. From this one here, from this position, you can breathe in, and as you breathe out, let your eye follow your hand. Eye-hand coordination is also important, but also to allow the cervical spine. You can reach back. As you're reaching back, breathe out. And that's a beautiful stretch for that mid-thoracic area. And you can see how important it is, how this is going to translate to do a single arm snatch, a barbell snatch, or anything overhead, even for your potentially your kettlebell swings. This openness of your chest and mid-thoracic is fantastic to translate into your workout that you're going to do after this, or even without a workout, just to feel good here. So I'm going to repeat that again. Pressure here the entire time. Arm from here, and you reach out, hand coordination, eyes follow the arm, and here to breathe out, and let that sink. Again, don't force it, because if you force it, potentially the muscles might tighten and might lock and might create a trigger point. So just let the gravity, let your body just rest and breathe out, and let your breath also allow that energy of the muscle to relax. I'm going to show you a variation of this one. It's going to be more into rotation this time. You're going to go from here. You're going to go actually first forward. So the spine is moving forward here. And then from here, your eyes again follow your arm, and then you're going to reach back behind you and rotate in this fashion. And breathe out and bring it back. Now try not both, see which one you like most. For me, this one is more of a rotational spine opening. The other one is definitely direct rotation. And for me, I feel this one better between my shoulder blades. And also this will allow me to open my back at the same time. So beautiful stretches here for the upper thoracic, and we can see how they translate into functionality at the gym. Like anything else, do that about 4 or 5 times a minute or so, or maybe 10 reps. There's no right or wrong as long as you're not forcing it and pushing it. So, and that will cover with us today what I would recommend to do to modify and kind of counter the effect of all the sitting we're doing. But in my opinion, the most important thing beyond stretches is awareness. If we become aware of how we're sitting or even standing, that will counter half of the tension we put on our body. Because the truth is, whatever stretch we do, whatever work we do here, or stretch you do by yourself, if you will sit like this all day, or if you text like this all day, there's nothing that will reverse that kyphosis and roundness in your shoulders and in your back. So awareness is key. For that, I recommend maybe saying, hey Siri, remind me every hour to sit up tall and wide. Or maybe if you have a scheduler on your computer, like an Outlook Explorer calendar, you can schedule that as a reminder every other hour. So reminders and for that awareness are very, very important. So what questions do you guys have for the second part of the upper body stretches and the opening?
Hey, so Charbel, it's Will.
Hey, Will.
Hey, so I've got a stand-up desk.
Yes.
In my office. Is that something, if let's just say I'm gonna get to the gym at 5 or 6, and so I'm gonna work all day before that. Is it best to, if you can, just pretty much stand all day, or is it better to go up and down, sit for a while, stand for a while, sit for a while?
I love this question, and thank you for asking it, Will. I love this question. So I will share with you the knowledge that I have on stand-up desk versus sitting desk. Now, the one advantage that stand-up desk have is, as you can see, when I'm standing, my hip flexors are open, as opposed to obviously when I'm sitting, they're closed off. So that's one advantage the stand-up desk have for my hip flexors here. The disadvantage of both is if I'm not aware of this versus this, I'm going to be fooled and mentally thinking that I'm standing. That means I'm automatically in a better place. So I urge everybody who has a stand-up desk to raise that screen super neutral in front of them, bring that keyboard close, think wide and tall. So work from here. So that's in terms of the stand-up desk. You still have to be aware of your posture. The second thing I would recommend for stand-up desks, keep a little stool next to you. So let's assume this is a stool. What I would recommend that you do, that you put one leg on a stool a little bit this way and work here for a few minutes. Then put the other leg up on a stool, work here for a few minutes. Shift a little bit this way or a little bit this way. Because even the stand, any posture, that even if it's perfect, it's still not the best posture because it will fatigue the muscles. So we discussed now being in neutral, being wide and tall, even at your standing. Another thing that I see with our patient that they do, Will, and thank you again for the question, that they do stand with extension. So if you have a stand-up desk, you want to make sure your back is not taking the load for hours on and standing in this extension. You need to keep your core engaged, your body neutral, and working from here. Now, to answer the time and duration, what I recommend is a change, as you said. Sit a little bit. Sit, let's say 45 minutes, stand up for 15 minutes. Go get, kitchen, get some water, come back, The idea is to stand about 2 to 3 hours in your 8 hours of work. So you don't want to stand for 8 hours. You don't want to sit for 8 hours. You want to have that intervals of sitting a little bit, standing a little bit. So hopefully that's that answer. Will gives you a better understanding of a stand-up desk. So incorporate a little stool, a little bit to the left, and be attention to yeah.
Yeah, because I've noticed if all of a sudden it'll be 3 hours and I've been standing there working on something, and I go to walk, and it's like somebody, cut my legs off.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. Yep, yeah, you're absolutely right. So that's why maybe if you let's shift a little bit left, a little bit right, a little bit to the right, a little bit to the left, and then walk a little bit, come back. It's definitely healthier than being standing the whole hour. I've had clients who would actually take it to another level, and they will have those stationary treadmill desks, and they come with back pain, and that's something similar. So we don't want to do too much of the good thing sometimes.
Right. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for the question.
Anybody else? Joe, anything? Chelsea? Nope.
I'm just wondering if it's bad for your back and bad for your posture if you drink too much while you work to get through the day.
If you drink too much, well, that again depends on what you're drinking. But so cheers to all the drinks. Talking about drinking, I recommend, if we're talking about water, always drink no less than half of your body weight in ounces. And maybe you've heard that before, and if you have, that's a good reminder. Let's say if I weigh 200 pounds, I should drink 100 ounces of water through the day. That's a recommended amount of water, as opposed to the traditional 8 cups of water. It depends on the body size. But if we're drinking beverages, and cheers, that's always a good thing.
What would you say? So like, I know some people don't even know if they have like an anterior till or anything like that. How is someone going to, one, know if they have that issue, two, remind themselves, like, constantly be correcting?
So typically speaking, if you do have that, you will probably notice that your body is in this fashion a lot. You might be noticing more back pain. It could be here, it could be here, it could be here, or it could be here. So indications your body will point up to some pain anywhere in this region. Or if you look in the mirror, you see yourself here instead of here or neutralized. These will be the biggest 2 indications. Also, you might, if you look in the mirror, sometimes those muscles here will be more toned than the rest of your body. You will notice that like these 2 muscles actually are way more developed and stronger than the rest of your body, and they will be definitely very obvious that are contracted. So these are 3 Q. One is visual, and both of them actually. Visual, one is sensory, is you feel a little pain. So these will be typical indication of people are in an anterior pelvic tilt. Another way to think about it is putting both hands here and see, are these 2 hands parallel to each other, or they are? And if you're not sure, force it. So if you're already in anterior pelvic tilt, you might not be able to go much further. And then you say, and if you go back this way, like, oh, wow, I have all of that. And of course, we don't want you to be in a tucked tail position. We want you to be in neutral. But there's about 4 ways that you can tell if you are in an anterior pelvic tilt. We advise people to be as neutral as possible with any activity.
So that means you guys need to practice your exercises. You should be able to tilt in and out of that and side to side.
Yeah, exactly. You should be able to say, okay, am I here or am I here? And if I'm here, I cannot go any further. I should be neutrally here. Now, in the defense of people who cannot, sometimes if the muscles of your hip flexors are too tight and your back are too tight, the truth is you cannot get yourself, and I hear that a lot from our patients saying, well, I'm trying to, but I'm not able. But because the muscles are so strong and the hip flexors are tilting you forward, the extensor muscles are tilting you backward this way, and those muscles contractions are so strong that you try to neutralize yourself and you're not able to. And that's understandable, and don't be frustrated. Do some lacrosse balls, some stretches, some breathing, some yoga. Definitely come and see us if you want, but any of those will help loosen up those tension, those trigger points, and allow you to neutralize your posture much easier than having to force it.
I guess one more question is like,
Yeah.
people love to say, they're like, oh, my hip flexors are so tight. But usually, like, isn't it an underlying issue? Like, saying my hip flexors are tight is just like the hot thing to say.
Excellent question. I love this question. So the muscles get tight, generally speaking, for two reasons. One is a repetitive microtrauma, too much. Let's say if I sit on a bicycle and I cycle all the time, or if I'm sitting all the time, repetitive microtrauma, the tissue becomes contracted, tight, and so forth. The other scenario is probably what you were referring to, is a compensation pattern. So when the body is not firing properly and is not activating the muscles that should activate properly, then it compensates. So an example to that, we hear a lot, something to what Sam is indicating to, I hear that often when people say, I'm quad dominant. And the quad is part of your hip flexors, by the way. And the reason why that happens is when people go into the squat, they're not utilizing the glutes and the core sufficiently, or another form of core stability, then they drive with the quads too much. And that's what Sam is referring to, is at times there is a compensation pattern. In this situation, the quads are compensating for the lack of glute activity and core to drive up out of that squat. So then those quads and the hip flexors in turn will be tight almost always, because we're not addressing the compensation here. We are just working on the tissue tension. That will help a little bit, but it's not a permanent fix. So correct, Sam, it depends on what's happening. And if it's that case, it's definitely a buzzword, and I'm quad dominant. And that's where I will engage. I will urge and invite people to think, can they activate the glutes and the core enough to drive out of those deadlift position or squat position? And we see that very often. That's a great question.
Anybody else?
I love questions. I love interactions. So fire away.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
That's all they got.
This was fun. Yeah. If anything comes to mind later, you guys can find me on Facebook. I believe Sam tagged me there. She tagged also our company. My email, I believe, is there. If not, it's just my name at ihsindy.com. So again, it's my name at ihsindy.com.
Yeah, we can add, I'll add it into the post.
Absolutely. So if anybody has any questions, I'd love to help. We're also giving a big time special. We offered that special once in the 5 years ever of opening, and we offered that once to the NapTown open house. And I believe Jared or Peter or one of the staff members is sharing our gift for you guys for this week. Anybody for NapTown Fitness, but particularly the audience. So hope you enjoy those specials as well. A little gift from us to you. It was fun to see you all tonight. Any questions, again, reach out to me, and hope to see you all soon.
Thanks, Charbel.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.